So, welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a very short span of time within 30 minutes. The idea is that you get to cover your current affairs on a daily basis, but you don't have to spend your entire day just reading the newspaper. Therefore, we shall cover the entire day's current affairs within 30 minutes. Now, just watching this lecture in 30 minutes would be job half done because just after watching it, you need to revise it as well. Why? Well, revision helps in consolidating these current affairs in your memory. Otherwise, you'll quickly forget them. Now, you can revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us, and these notes shall be shared on our Telegram platform. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. Okay then, let's begin today's session. But first, let's take a look at the list of topics that we shall cover today. So in today's lecture, we'll be only focusing on these three topics. Okay. Number one in this list is presidential reference, Article 143. Basically, recently President Draupadi Murmu has asked the Supreme Court to give its advisory opinion on certain matters, certain questions that she has raised. Okay, now this is known as presidential reference and it is mentioned under Article 143 of the Constitution. So what is presidential reference? What is Supreme Court's advisory jurisdiction? We'll talk about this. Then we'll talk about RBI's economic capital framework. Well, RBI also earns money. Now, some of that money it keeps as emergency reserves or in its contingency reserve, and it transfers other profits to the government. So some profits of the RBI are transferred to the government, some are kept with RBI. This is done as per a framework which is known as economic capital framework. So what is this? We'll talk about this. And in the end, we'll talk about 2022 Delhi Declaration on Counterterrorism. So what is this Delhi Declaration? We'll talk about this too. Okay, so these are the three topics that we will zero in our attention on. Let's start discussing them one by one, starting with presidential reference, Article 143. Now look, Supreme Court has different types of jurisdiction. Jurisdiction means that what type of cases can Supreme Court hear? One is known as original jurisdiction. Okay, original jurisdiction means that these cases will only be heard by the Supreme Court. Okay, no other court shall hear these cases. Then there is appellate jurisdiction. Appellate jurisdiction means that other courts have heard these cases, they have given their opinion. Now, an appeal has been filed in the Supreme Court to review that judgment. Okay, so this is appellate jurisdiction, and the other is advisory jurisdiction. Now, advisory jurisdiction means that the president can ask for Supreme Court's advice on certain matters. Okay, their Supreme Court's opinion on certain matters. Clear? This is mentioned in Article 143 of the Constitution, and the advice or opinion given by the Supreme Court is not binding on the president. Okay, this is what we mean by presidential reference. Now, recently, President Draupadi Murmu has invoked the Supreme Court's advisory jurisdiction by asking 14 questions. And these 14 questions mostly are related to a recent judgment given by the Supreme Court with respect to Tamil Nadu governor. We have talked about this. Supreme Court basically gave a judgment on Tamil Nadu governor, and it also attached some timelines because the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly passes some bills and it is up to Tamil Nadu governor to assent to those bills. Now, Supreme Court gave certain judgments. Okay, Supreme Court basically gave a timeline that the Tamil Nadu governor has to, or the governor has to take a decision within 1 month. These types of decisions should be taken within 3 months. Now, President Draupadi Murmu has said that the Constitution is silent about these timelines. Constitution doesn't mention any timeline. Can the Supreme Court give a timeline? So all these 14 questions, we'll talk about this. Okay, all these 14 questions are related to that judgment of the Supreme Court a few months back on Tamil Nadu governor. Okay, but we won't focus on this controversy regarding Tamil Nadu governor right now. We will focus on the advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court. So under Article 143 Clause 1 of the Constitution, the President may refer a question, and the word may is important over here, may refer a question of law or fact to the Supreme Court for its opinion. The opinion given by Supreme Court, unlike a judgment or ruling, is not binding. Okay. Now, as I said before, most of these 14 questions are related to the recent Tamil Nadu governor case, which is also known as R.N. Ravi case, because the Tamil Nadu governor was R.N. Ravi. Okay. Now, about advisory jurisdiction. So, Supreme Court has special advisory jurisdiction in matters which may specifically be referred to it by the president. And this power only lies with the Supreme Court, by the way. Okay. If the president needs any legal opinion with respect to certain matters, it can invoke Article 143 and ask some questions, legal questions to the Supreme Court. Okay, and only Supreme Court. So this is advisory jurisdiction. Now this Article 143 basically stems from, or it was borrowed from, Section 213 of the Government of India Act 1935. Under Section 213 of Government of India Act 1935, Governor General of India could ask the federal court, okay, their advice. Clear? So this Section 213 from Government of India Act has been borrowed in Article 143. So remember this part also, because they might ask a question, how did Article 143 originate? Okay. Now, Article 145 Clause 3 says that if Article 143 is invoked and the President has asked for Supreme Court's advice, then a 5-judge bench will be formed in Supreme Court, and that 5-judge bench will decide the answer or their advice or the advisory opinion. Okay. Now, so far, Article 143 has been invoked 15 times since the start of our Constitution. Okay. This is the case. Now, certain important things that you need to know about this advisory jurisdiction. First question is, can the Supreme Court decline to answer a presidential reference? So, if President invokes Article 143 and asks Supreme Court for its opinion, is Supreme Court bound to give its opinion, or the Supreme Court can refuse it? The answer is that Supreme Court can refuse it. Article 143 Clause 1 states the court may, after such hearing as it thinks fit, report to the President its opinion thereon. Now the word may is important, and this word may gives the power to Supreme Court to even refuse this reference. Okay, and Supreme Court has refused it in the past at least 2 times. So this is first question that you need to remember. Second important information is, can the Supreme Court overturn previous ruling by presidential reference? So look, Government of India was not happy with R.N. Ravi case or the judgment of R.N. Ravi case by the Supreme Court. Now through this presidential reference, if the Supreme Court give its opinion that no, we cannot add timelines to the governor's jurisdiction, or basically Supreme Court in its advice contradicts its previous judgment, can this advisory opinion overturn previous Supreme Court judgment? The answer is no. Okay. In 1991 opinion on Kaveri Water Disputes Tribunal, the Supreme Court said that Article 143 is not a mechanism to review or reverse a previous judgment. Okay, it is just advice. You cannot reverse previous judgment. If you want to reverse it, then you need to file a curative petition or a review petition. Okay, that the Supreme Court should review its previous decision. But you cannot reverse a previous decision through Article 143. Clear? So these are the 2 things that you need to remember. Now let's talk about what 14 questions the President asked. Okay, so here are those 14 questions. Number 1 is, what are the constitutional options before a governor when a bill is presented to him under Article 200? Is governor bound by the aid and advice of Council of Minister? Is the constitutional discretion? Because under Article 200, it is written that some decisions governor can take on his discretion without the aid and advice of Council of Ministers. So, is that discretion questionable in a court of law? This is a question. And similar questions are asked with respect to the powers of governor. Okay, with respect to their relationship with the legislative assembly. Okay, so you don't have to remember all 14 questions. Just remember that basically Supreme Court is President is asking for Supreme Court's opinion on the power of governors. Okay, that would be all. Now let's move on to second news item of the day, which is RBI's economic capital framework. Now look, RBI does its job, okay? And in that job, RBI earns some profit. Now this profit is distributed by RBI into two parts, okay? First part is contingency capital buffer. Now contingency capital buffer is that money which is kept by RBI for emergency. So in future, if there is an emergency and there is a financial crisis, RBI can use this money to solve that crisis. Okay. So this is kept for emergency. And the rest of the profit is given to Government of India as dividend. Clear? So it is the surplus money is given to Government of India. Now, economic capital framework decides how much money should be kept in this buffer and how much money should be given or transferred to Government of India as profit. Okay, this is what the framework is. Framework is basically a set of rules to decide what percentage of money would go to CCB and what percentage would go to Government of India. Okay, this is what we mean by ECF. So RBI's Central Board of Directors, the highest decision-making authority in RBI, reviewed the economic capital framework, which is used to determine risk provisioning, the CCB's risk provisioning, and surplus distribution by central bank to the government. Based on ECF, RBI transfers dividend to government every year. Okay. Now in August 2019, before August 2019, RBI had formed a committee called Bimal Jalan Committee. The task given to this committee was that you should give us recommendations with respect to economic capital framework, how this economic capital framework should be. And Bimal Jalan Committee gave some recommendations. All those recommendations were accepted, okay, by RBI. So currently the economic capital framework of RBI is as per Bimal Jalan Committee's recommendations. So in August 2019, RBI had adopted the recommendations of Bimal Jalan Committee on ECF. The committee also recommended that this ECF shall be reviewed every 5 years. Okay. Now, about ECF. So RBI transfers surplus to the government from its profit after setting aside contingency risk buffer. I'm sorry, it's not CCB, it's CRB. Contingency risk buffer. Contingency means emergency risk buffer. RBI CRB is the fund kept aside to manage any future financial stability crisis. So these are emergency reserves. The rest is transferred to the government. Now, as per Bimal Jalan Committee, the money in CRB should be 5.5 to 6.5% of RBI's balance sheet. So 5.5 to 6.5% of RBI's balance sheet should be kept in CRB. The rest should be transferred as dividend to the government. Okay. Now, if RBI transfers more money to the government, well, it really helps out government. How? Well, it allows government to manage its fiscal deficit because now through this government is earning more money to cover its deficit. Plus, this transfer of money to the government will be used by government to do expenditure. Okay, that expenditure will increase liquidity in the market. That would basically boost demand. And if demand gets boosted, well, economy gets boosted. So higher transfer of money to government is beneficial. But still, RBI needs to keep some emergency reserves. Clear? Okay. That's all you need to know as far as economic capital framework is concerned. Now, quickly, let's shift our focus to third topic of the day, which is Delhi 2020 Delhi Declaration on Counterterrorism. Okay. Now, hear me out. Why is this in news? So, an Indian delegation is in New York discussing counter-terrorist travel and financing with officials from United Nations anti-terror agencies because New Delhi is trying to list the resistance front accused of Pahalgam attack as a UN listed terror group. Currently, it is not listed as a terror group as per UN. So, Indian government wants that. And once it is listed as a terror group, then further actions can be taken by everyone in the world, all UN members. The participants also discussed efforts to counter the use of new and emerging technologies for terrorist purposes in line with 2022 Delhi Declaration, okay, adopted by Counter-Terrorism Committee under the chairmanship of India. So United Nations Security Council's counter-terrorism committees summit happened in New Delhi in 2022. In that summit, there was a declaration which was adopted by this committee that is known as the Delhi Declaration. So what is this Delhi Declaration? So Delhi Declaration adopted in 2022 by UNSC, Counter-Terrorism Committee, focuses on countering the use of new and emerging tech for terrorist purposes. Because now these terrorists are equipped with new technologies, okay, digital technologies. So how to tackle these terrorists who are using new technologies, or how to block the usage of new technology to these terrorists. Okay. The declaration also emphasized the importance of preventing and suppressing terrorism. Declaration also addresses the use of technology. This was the most important part of Delhi Declaration. Use of technology by terrorists and how countries can block it. Okay. That would be all as far as today's lecture is concerned. That's all from my side, everyone. Now look, I'm sure this lecture has added value to your preparation, but I say this every time. It will add more value if you revise it and if you're consistent with it also. Okay? So please do not forget to revise it. And on that note, I'll be signing off with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.